Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. Now, Cindy and I have done this, predominantly me, but Cindy's been able to host some of the interviews over the last year or so that we've had the podcast in place, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Today, it's actually an honor, not just a pleasure, because I have the opportunity to introduce you to our friend, Dr. Regeline Sabbat. We know her as Gigi, and we met her through the Voices for Leadership retreat in April. It was actually on our anniversary. It was April of 2023. Cindy and I celebrated that was our 23rd anniversary with some wonderful folks in St. Pete, Florida. And it was a cool experience. And we got to know Gigi. We actually met her mom during that event as well. And it's just been a wonderful friendship that's developed since. And there's been a whole lot of other things that we've done. I'll tell you later about the show notes and how you can learn more about Gigi. We've been part of a number of different events that Gigi's hosted upcoming in just about 8 days as we have this live conversation in the Leadership Legacy channel on our Leading at the Next Level community. Cindy and I get to be part of Gigi's 6th annual Global Leadership Conference. Now, that's a web-based thing. We'll share the links. Make sure you've got that before we wrap up. But Gigi, before I butcher anything or just go in any wrong direction, why don't you give an overview of your background? You've got an amazing background, and talk about your experience in the overall industry.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Wes. And that's right. I'm Dr. Gigi Sabbat, motivational keynote speaker. I'm also an author. I'm the author of Walk With Me and God First, endorsed by Les Brown. I also have my first crime book coming out here. It's called The Miracle Through the Storm, The Infinite Power of Faith. And also, too, I host events. So long story short, a few years ago, I actually almost lost my life, death by strangulation in a domestic violence relationship. And after everything that happened, I stepped into God's purpose for my life. And I launched a podcast, the books, and the company, Life Service Center of America. And then God led us to host events. It started off with domestic violence and sexual assault topics I'm a survivor of. But then God led us to host them on various subjects. I mean, leadership, business, confidence, pregnancy, endometriosis, autism, human trafficking. And now we've just done one on marriage. We just did our first annual global marriage conference hosted with Mark and Wes. You and your wife, Cindy, were a part of that. A very powerful talk that both of you gave. I love it. And also, too, we have a few other events coming up. We have our second annual neurodivergent event coming up here with Daniel Dominguez, who was also a part of the Voices for Leadership community, beautiful soul. And then we also have the 4th annual Global Warriors Conference in Palm Coast, Florida, again, by popular demand. We have our then now 7th annual Global Domestic Violence event, 7th annual Global Breast Cancer event. And it's such an honor to serve, Wes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come back to this, but real quick, I'm going to share for the 2026 Leadership Legacy event that Cindy and I are hosting 3 months from today here in the Harrisonburg, Virginia area at James Madison University. Our community partner, Gigi, for the last several years, I think since 2017, we've had a local nonprofit that's been our community partner, where we've earmarked a percentage of all of our top line revenue for. This year. It's an organization called New Creation that they really focus on human trafficking, both awareness, working with and helping survivors get into the workforce, and just taking care of folks. They do some global, but also local, really, really strong work across Virginia, but not just here, in a lot of different states and countries. So thanks for sharing that piece. It's neat to know how close our ties can be many times.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we are also a part of Voices for Leadership, the community, as I mentioned. But I'm a part of Volume 2, and then you're also a part of it, right? As far as the community goes. So here it is, Voices for Leadership.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for sharing that. Brian, I'm so thankful. Gigi, I've written a manuscript that'll be a book that comes out in 2028 called Leveraging Leadership Growth, Strength Through Great Professional Relationships. And that's just such a cool example of, I'm not very good at many things by myself, but man, I've been blessed by good people in my life. You're one of them. And hey, Brian's an amazing person, Brian Brogan in Lakeland, Florida. And the relationships we've developed from the relationships we've developed just continue to grow. So it's pretty cool. Now, the first formal question I'm going to toss out to you is around the theme of my 2025 book, Leading with Clear Purpose. Now, you've done so many different things. You're first generation Haitian American. You've done a lot of amazing stuff in your career outside of everything you mentioned. There's a whole lot more that I know that you've shared with me and Cindy over the years. Talk about what that purpose has been that's driven you to do all the things that you've done.
Literally, God, literally, his direction. And I remember sitting down, he literally put it in front of me, what he needed me to do here as far as the company. And I remember sitting down there, I'm like, okay, the name of the company, and I just sat there with paper, and I just sat there. And I kid you not, he presented to me Life Service Center of America. And I said, all right, I'm always listening to him and his direction. So I listened in, Life Service Center of America, and I sat with it. And I learned you don't question him, you say, thank you, God. And as more and more I thought about it, I said, okay, wait a minute, because when you have a car and you go get your car service, right, where do you take it? Right? Service center. And so what do we do in Life Service Center of America? We have life coaching programs. So it makes sense. Life Service Center of America. I said, I got it. Even with the books too, faith led as well. I remember sitting there and God literally presented to me. I had the whiteboard like you see behind me now. I had a whiteboard and literally walk with me exactly how you see the front cover of the book. That's exactly how he presented it to me. And that's exactly what
Wow.
came about here. So walk with me. And I remember seeing the beach, and then I said, and I saw myself, and I learned again. You don't question God. You say, "Thank you, God," and you keep moving forward. And then with the God First book here, his direction. That's what this is the image. This is exactly how it was. And that's what he presented it to me. Everything literally is God. God literally led me to do it. And this is what I tell people all the time. Purpose. When you're in purpose, make sure to keep both feet in purpose, not one foot out and one foot in. Keep both feet in purpose. And when you understand it, you have a duty, right? You have a duty to listen in and to stay in purpose and to serve. And my word of the year every year is serve, Wes.
So that really opens the door for the question I've got. I've got chills as you share some of those things because the listening part, Gigi, I wish I could tell you I was better at. Sometimes I listen more when I'm getting a slap on the back of the head. Cindy does that sometimes to me. It's not domestic violence. It's just her being nice to me. But the reality is I wish I would listen to what God tells me more often. We mentioned ADHD before I hit the go live button, right?
I have
And
it as well, Wes, so I understand.
yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Now, talk about who you serve. You talked about what you do. Talk about what's the person, who's the target market that you focus on making sure you're a blessing to?
Yeah, great question. So essentially, anyone, right? And everyone. And I mean that in a genuine way. And so you never know who needs the services, right? Or who it may resonate with. And so I just love meeting people where they are. And so essentially, in the past, we've assisted folks with maybe writing a book, or maybe they already had something written down. They just need some extra accountability or just someone to guide them. So that's what I do as a coach, life coach. And then also, too, maybe someone who wants to launch a podcast. And we assist folks with podcasts, also to events, maybe speaking. They want to speak more in regards to more speaking engagements. We assist folks there as well. And we just, again, love meeting people where they are. If it's a business related matter, then we do provide business coaching and just assist folks as far as the extra accountability goes. And what we found is that people, they just want that extra individual to just really push them into, again, as far as the goal that they may be working on, just someone to check in and say, hey, how are you doing? How are things going? Or you got this, or just keep pushing them on a daily basis. And what we found is that folks really love doing that one-on-one session with a coach, with a life coach. And it's the folks who have trusted the process and who have taken action where we've seen proven results. One of our success stories as well, there's a woman, she was pregnant at the time, Wes, and she said, I want to write it. I want to finish launching my book. I want to write a book, right? I want to launch it. And we spoke, and we worked on her book day in, day out, every single day. And I kid you not, Wes, she launched her book. And I told her she was going to have two babies at a time, literally the physical baby and the book. She ended up launching both at the same time. And then her husband actually became a client as well. And yes, he's very successful as well. So that's a success story right there for you. And then we also have a woman, she was afraid to get on camera. She actually talks about it on her show. And now she's running two successful shows, Wes.
That's fantastic. Gigi, for so long, I pushed back against Cindy. We went through the licensing process to be coaches, and you and I both know that it matters, understanding how to do it, but the licensing doesn't make you a coach. Being able to do it makes you, getting results makes you. But I pushed back because I'd seen so many folks say, I'm a coach of this, I'm a coach of that, but they had no proof in the pudding, and I wouldn't. And Cindy's way smarter than me. I don't hide behind that. Praise God, she's in my life. But I listened to her finally. I wish I would have listened sooner. And we've been able, much like you, I've seen so many remarkable results because it just gives that people the accountability that we often don't have ourselves, right? Accountability is a big deal. So
Yes, it
thank
is.
you for detailing that. Wow.
You're welcome.
Talk about, so my most recent book, you and I talked on your podcast, the Walk With Me podcast, not long ago, about the values advantage a little bit. It's based on core values. Talk to me about one of the core values that you hold dear and how you work to model that for everybody that you interact with, be it clients, interactions, whatever that is.
Great question. So essentially, you are right. I do have a podcast. It's called Walk With Me, like you see here on the book. And then here, Les Brown says, I urge you to walk with Regeline and walk with purpose. And so if you look at the cover of Walk With Me, it's day. And then if you look at the cover of Walk With Me, the podcast, it's night. So go back to Genesis, the beginning. It's faith-based there. And then, so the core values, right? For me, essentially, it's meeting people where they are. And what does it look like, right? Really listening. Listening truly matters. Not going in assuming I know where you are, or I just met you and I'm literally now saying, okay, based off this, that, and the third, I know where you are. No, I don't. How do I know? I don't even know you. So let me ask you a question. So I love asking questions and really getting to know someone, and then moving forward and seeing if I can even assist them. So what I usually do, Wes, before I even offer any of my programs, I usually do a strategy session. And again, if I can assist that individual, I will. If not, then I will refer them to someone who can. And in regards to the podcast as well, again, meeting people where they are. And literally, we don't just go on the podcast just to go on a podcast. No, 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 no. Keep in mind that folks are listening, right? And it's meeting people where they are, even on the podcast, and providing value. I remember my niece, she said, Auntie, I'm listening in and I'm taking notes. And at the time, she was so young. Now she's a little bit older. She's over 20 now.
That's what an impact that you're making through her and everybody she touches, in the ripple effect. That was a theme that came up a lot as I wrote The Leverage in Leadership Growth. Is it ain't just us, it's how it plays over into the other people and the impact that we have.
That's right.
You founded your organization, so it's a little bit different, but outside of the personal and the way you represent those and the listening and what you do for folks that you interact with, talk to me about how that's played out organizationally across Life Service Center of America, and how you make sure that core value really is embedded, it's felt in everything that you do corporately, not just personally.
Absolutely. Essentially, again, if we don't meet people where they are, then it's really worrisome, because here's the reality. I think going in and assuming is not good, because then if I go in and I assume, again, I know where someone is, or I know what the person is going to say, then that can really steer away from that individual's unique perspective. And so going into the speaking engagements as well, in regards to the events that we host, we really love to let folks choose their own topic. I could choose the topics for each speaker, but then I think that it takes away, or it would take away from that speaker's, how can I put this, unique capability, or what their message truly is. What I found is just let the speaker be and let them select their own topic. And of course, we're able to now see beforehand what that speaker is going to speak on, and if it's okay to cover that particular subject, or if it's something that is appropriate, so to speak.
Yes. And Gigi, with the event we did last year, we had 3 executive panels, 5 people on each, and we gave them a topic, but transparently, I erred to the side of not sucking up much of their time, and I didn't give them enough to work from. This year, we're doing a little bit different, and we've worked through that process. But the reality is, if I put those words in their mouth, it's not going to be genuine. I'm going to take their voice away. Now, like you said, let's make sure it ties in with the theme. But
Exactly. Yes, of course, we select the theme. Yeah, for sure.
gonna guide you, but because we've got a purpose, we've got to tie back in and make sure that we've got that authenticity. But how do we allow people to keep their voice? And the reality is, what we've watched you do is know the individuals and who they are. And when you've got that trust in who they are, you can also trust that, hey, they're gonna deliver along with the theme, and they're not going to be a fool. And
Exactly.
you trust me anyway, regardless of knowing I might be a fool.
Yes. And Wes, I should let you know too. So we've had some individuals in the past, they say, hey, we need assistance. Can you maybe choose one of the subjects or topics that we have? We're more than happy to help in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me an example. You just did with some of the coaching, but organizationally, give me an example of some real transformation, some things that you've seen through the initiatives that you led, that you can walk away and say, what an impact, that you could have your fingerprint on that person's life and the people that they influence through what you've done.
Yeah, essentially. And I'll share what someone has shared with me, essentially. is just really the listening piece. They really appreciate a coach who just listens. Also, too, just allowing that space during sessions for that individual to just vent, right? They just love to vent. They just want a coach that just lets them be and lets them vent and express themselves, especially if they're having maybe a difficult day and they just need somewhere quiet to just vent. That's what I got.
And that's so important. And, hey, it's hard for me to do that. For Cindy, she's a really good listener. For me, I'm usually the fixer. Our son, it's so funny. He's 31 years old. He's a fantastic human being, Gigi. He'll call he'll call Cindy and she'll say, Matt, do you need me to listen or do you want my advice? She said, I just need you to listen, Mama. He never gets that question from me. He's usually calling Dad to fix it.
Oh, I love it. So he has the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Hey, and I say that to say, I know that I constantly have to work on listening better to him, to Cindy, to everybody in my life. That's part of the coaching process. It's easier there because I know it's my job. For everything else, well, let's fix it and move on. And that's not always right. You're smacking me around a little bit in this conversation, ma'am. Oh, wow. And I like it. So talk to me about what's driven you. How have the core values, listening specifically, forced you to really invest in your own growth journey to make sure that you're putting the time, the energy, the resources into being that listener, to being that person that the people you serve really need?
Wow, that is such a great question, Wes. And I believe, even though I'm the coach, right? I believe that we can still learn from the folks that we are coaching. And I kid you not, I have learned something from every single client that I've worked with, literally. And so we get to grow together, which is a blessing.
Yeah, it's powerful. I can't point to a single one that I haven't walked away feeling like, gosh, I'm not sure I didn't get more out of that than they did. Thankfully, they got stuff from it too, but
Right.
you're 100% correct. So when we did your podcast a while back, I talked a little bit about the importance of those values. Gigi, statistically, when I was writing the book, one of the stats that I found was between 70 and 80% of all organizations have their values listed in a handbook or on a website. The reality, though, is not many organizations have those values permeated down through to where the boots on the ground know what the values are or understand, more importantly, how those values look in practice. As we launch the book and we're doing some of the other related resources with it, our goal is how do we put that in place to where everybody at every level of an organization really understands how they live those values. Based on what we've talked around that, tell me what you see as the opportunity for organizations that really have those values permeated top to bottom and how much that matters.
Absolutely, it definitely matters. I believe in integrity. When you say you're going to do something, do it. And going back to my word of the year, right? Serve, right? And so that is one of our values as well, serve, right? And so when you say you're going to do it, do it. And I believe that there's various ways to serve. I believe that through the events that we do, that's a way to serve. Through the books that we have, that's another way to serve. The podcast even is a way to serve. Even social media, Wes, is a way to serve.
Absolutely. Gigi, I use your word of the year as how I define leadership.
I love it.
And it's not about being in charge. It's about who am I serving. Now, I also make sure that people know I'm not advocating do for someone else what they could and should do for themselves. How do I remove the roadblocks so they can do what they can the best they possibly can?
That's a
So,
great
yeah, really powerful. I love the word of the year and how you've embedded that. I've got two questions. I'm going to ask one last formal question, but I've got two unscripted questions for you.
Okay. Yeah.
The last formal question, and I'll give you time. One's going to be really, really easy. The other one's going to require some thought. So I'll talk about some things in there. The last formal one is, what advice are you going to give to somebody that's aspiring to grow into a leadership role? They're maybe young in their professional career and they want to be a leader. Now, I want to qualify that by saying I'm not talking about a supervisor, a manager, a company owner. I'm talking about someone who truly leads around that idea of serve.
Yes.
What are you telling them to do?
Yes. To pause, reflect, and to serve. And you can do it. I believe in you. There is a leader in every single individual. And I believe in you. Let your voice be heard. Your voice matters.
I wish I would have heard that 25 years ago and 24 years ago and 23 years ago. That's the pause is still hard for
Yes.
me today. Cindy helps me do it, but it's hard. That's
Mhm.
wonderful feedback. Now, I'm going to give you both of them together. And then as you ponder the second one, because the first one's going to be easy, you've already
That's okay.
shared this with me. The first one is going to be, I want to hear about your triathlon that's coming up. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about that. I know that's going to be easy. The second one that's going to take a little bit more spontaneity is, what have I not asked you that I should have? Now, while you're thinking about those two, I'll say that, guys, if wherever you're seeing this, if you're catching the video version in the community, no cost access on the Leadership Legacy channel of our Leading at the Next Level community, awesome. In the show notes, or if you're over on a podcast, it's on any of the platforms it feeds to, Gigi has this wonderful allmylinks.com/Gigi Sabbat link that takes you to all of her stuff. Please connect with her, follow her, stay in the loop with it. She does so much stuff through social media specifically that she just referenced. She impacts hundreds and thousands of people all day, every day. She's powerful. You need to make sure you connect with her, and that allmylinks.com/Gigi Sabbat is how you do it. Now, which one you want to go for first?
Yes, so the triathlon is actually coming up here, October 11th of this year, 2026. Long story short, so I had a knee injury, coming off knee injury. I met a beautiful soul, Coach Chelsea Denlinger, and she literally met me where I was and never had me look at the knee injury. She's like, get out there and run, lady. And I remember just taking it one day at a time. Literally, I kid you not, Wes, one day at a time. I used to run a mile over an hour because of the knee injury, right? And then through her training, I have now dropped down to 9 minutes for 1 mile. Yes. And then I ran a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon. Half marathon is 13.1, full marathon is 26.2. And then now training for my first triathlon, which again is coming up October 11th of 2026. So essentially, you're running, it's a swim, there's a swim as well, and the bike portion as well. I am fired up, I am ready, I'm excited, and I'm trusting and enjoying the process.
Holy moly.
I know, right?
Yeah, I won't say it here. You and I had a side conversation that wasn't recorded not long ago. Then I said, here's why I don't run today. I won't share it in this, but I don't. Now, that said, you're such an inspiration. You're a hero for me and Cindy. You truly are. Now, what have I not asked you that I should have that you'd like to share here?
I feel like you asked me a lot of great questions. Thank you so much, Wes. I feel like we talked about a lot. And also, too, so for your listeners out there, because I do have some exciting news I'd love to share. We have the book coming out, the first crime book that I wrote, and that one is published with Michael D. Butler with the Beyond Publishing team there. They have published every single one of my books that I have written on my own. Some of the collaborative books and some of the other collaborative books have been done through another publisher because maybe that individual already had a publisher. But the crime book, going back to it, it should be released here fairly soon. We'll be sharing out the link, the pre-order link. And it's my first crime book, Wes. I mean, it's quite different than the other ones. This one is fiction. The other ones were true.
Yeah, I have a hard time getting my head around how to do that, Gigi. Sometimes people are like, the stuff you write in your books couldn't be real. No, I've done plenty of dumb stuff. Therefore, I've got funny stories to tell about that dumb stuff. And praise God, I got to live through. they're for real.
You sure you're not a comedian as well? My friend.
Hey, it's funny looking back on some of it because I've made it through. Cindy can sometimes laugh on it today, but when we went through it, it weren't always funny. You know what I mean?
Oh, in it wasn't fun, but now you can look back and laugh. I get it. Love it.
Yeah. I'm working on a manuscript right now, Gigi, that will come out probably in 2028. That's really about, here's the dumb things, but think back to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. In the seed of every adversity, every heartache, every misfortune is, in every heartache and all that, you get my point, is the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And that's true. But the challenge is you got to be looking for it. You got to understand that, hey, it's really there, as opposed to kicking rocks and saying, woe is me. And sometimes in our life, we're kicking rocks and saying, woe is me.
That's right. So, yes. And we've all faced our challenges. I love how you brought up challenges, right? Challenges are inevitable. And I truly believe it's what you do with it. I have given my challenges to God, and I also understand that action is required on our end as well. It's not just give it to God and expect everything's going to be okay. No, just like that. No, we have a duty, right, to then take the steps as well. And so action is truly required. My faith means the world to me. So again, prayer is huge to me. And so anytime I have an issue, a problem, or a challenge, I give it to God and I pray.
Yeah. Gigi, I'm a little bit more hillbilly than you. You're way more educated and way more proper. I say God can't steer a parked car. That's our action part in there. We've got to do something on our own too.
Yes, I love it. Well said, Wes.
Yeah. So thank you for taking the time to do this. I'll bring it to a close. We'll chat about one or two things afterward if you're willing. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Again, look at the allmylinks.com, Gigi Sabbat, the links in the show notes. Connect with Gigi. Registrations open for March 20th, 2026 for the 6th annual Global Leadership Conference. Cindy and I are blessed to be able to be a part of that. It starts at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's a virtual event. It's going to be powerful. There's a great lineup already, and there's likely going to be more surprises as it comes, but it's cool. Hope to get to see you there. If you have a need for continuing education credit, you're hearing this, you're seeing this in the community, whatever, and you need like a SHRM or an HRCI or something like that, our full Leading at the Next Level program has close to 200 of them in it, and we continue to add to it twice a month. Reach out to me. Send me an email at admin@dove-development.net, and we'll hook you up with a 7-day free trial and probably some type of 20% or so discount code off one of the monthly memberships. Hope this serves you well. Gigi, again, thanks so much. You're a blessing in our life. Make it a great day, and